It makes no sense to keep paying for something that's already been paid in full. Could you imagine having a car with a car payment that you finally finish making the last payment, and now that vehicle is fully owned and paid for? You do not need to make another payment on it, but instead you decide, because you don't feel like it's truly yours, that you need to keep making payments on it to feel like you own it. That would be crazy, right? And yet, that's how many of us are living. You guys, welcome back to the Kingdom Family Movement podcast. I'm your host, Sam Velasquez. And just as a reminder, this podcast is rooted in this foundation, right? To help reignite marriages, realign families, and restore homes. One principle, one practice, and one movement we can simply take and implement throughout our week. Because I truly believe that everything, generally speaking, starts inside the four walls. We are shaped by our experiences, how we were raised as kids, how we parent our own kids, and so much of our time is spent inside the four walls. And so, what if we could begin to truly see healthy shifts and change and a culture that is rooted in truth, one principle, one practice, and one movement at a time? So if you're joining for the first time, you guys, welcome. I appreciate it. Hey, as always, please follow along, subscribe, leave a comment, do all the things we are asking everyone to do these days in our digital world of online marketing, because it's how we grow. It's how we have a greater reach and impact. And I truly believe that this podcast does bring something of value to those out there listening, because it's not so unique. It's because it's rooted in principle truth that we all need to be reminded of and encouraged to live not just our best lives, but more importantly, live from a place where we can breathe life on those around us. So, you guys, I appreciate you being here. And again, if you're here for the first time, welcome. And I want to just jump into it because we're coming out of an incredible season and time, right? We just celebrated Easter, hopefully had an incredible Easter weekend. But I wanted to talk about this because I think that this is true for so many. And maybe not everybody, but I think it's common enough that we can mostly all relate to this tension that sometimes we experience in our everyday lives. Because he, being Jesus, rose from the dead. And because he said on the cross, it is finished. And we'll come back to that statement because it's powerful and it means something. But ever since that point, not only was it finished, not only did he raise from the dead, everything changed. Not just eternity, not just salvation, but our everyday life. And yet, still, if we're being honest, which I am because I'm in the same boat, we live sometimes like it's not finished. We live from a place of as if it's not a completed work, which then puts us into a position of striving, maybe not Mary, but striving. We carry things we're never meant to carry. Or if you're like me, you try to fix everything yourself. And then we act like there's still something we owe. Like it possibly can't be taken care of. I must have to do something more in order to live from a place of realizing, believing, and knowing it is truly finished. Can you relate to that? I mean, think about this, right? Imagine you walk into a restaurant, you and your whole family, and you order a full meal for everybody. You eat it, you enjoy it, you love being there. And when you're done, the bill comes. And the waiter or waitress maybe says, "Hey, good news. It's already been paid for. You don't owe anything. Someone covered it completely. You owe zero." But instead of receiving it, right, here's where we go sometimes in our lives. We pull out our wallets anyway because we insist on paying. Maybe you argue, maybe you stress because it's like, wait a minute, someone could, like, what? Right? Or you act like it depended on you. Like, how could someone pay for that? Like, I need to pay for this. This is my responsibility. That would make no sense to feel like you need to pay for something that someone already paid for. But spiritually speaking, that's how many of us sometimes are living from season to season, sometimes from every day to the next. It just happens because we forget, I think, some core truths. We forget what it means to have something completely taken care of, to say it is finished, which is what Jesus said on the cross. So the truth is, right? Jesus didn't say it's started. No, he said it is finished. And we see that in John 19:30. And I like this idea, especially given the example of someone paying for your meal in full, right? Because that's what it is finished really is. It's a word known as tetelestai, which in the Hebrew means it is finished, or better yet, I like the translation paid in full. That means you owe nothing. There's no balance. There's nothing to pay. It doesn't matter how much you have or how much you strive or earn, or it has no bearing because it's already been taken care of. There is not any debt. The work is complete. The debt is paid, right? The victory is secured, and the resurrection proves it too, right? And I love this because in Romans 8:11 it tells us, it says, the same power. Okay, think about this. And this is why this resonates with me, because this is easy to talk about, but it's even easier, I think, to somehow in our everyday lives forget the incredible power of what the resurrection means for us. Yes, our salvation, but Romans 8:11 says that the same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in us, lives in you, it lives in me. Think about that. The same power. It is a life-giving power, a someone is dead and now they're alive power. That same power. That same power that defeated death, that rolled the stone away. If you don't know the story of the resurrection of Jesus, it's a story that is also marked by history, facts, data, proof. And that brought life where there was none. That same power lives in us. That same power lives in you, right? As if we forgot and we are still living like we're powerless. You ever felt that way? Has that ever been something you can relate to? I know it is for me. Okay. This shows up every day, and it shows up everywhere in our life more than we realize. It shows up maybe in our marriage, right? Have you ever felt tension over anything? And so you try to, or maybe not you, but I do, you try to control everything instead of trusting and having peace, trusting God in the power that He's given us. Has that ever happened to you? I know it's happened to me. So, why do we forget that we have that power? Maybe it shows up in your parenting. You feel pressure. You ever felt pressure in parenting? I have 4 children, and it just builds up, right? So instead, right, we react instead of responding with patience. You ever have that happen? Maybe in your personal life, right? You ever felt in your personal life, you just, maybe you're not adding up, it's not enough, or maybe you feel like you're falling behind. You, like, I'm 43 years old. I think there's a lot of people, even as early as in their 30s, but especially we use terms that are so untrue, but we have to quantify things. And so we have things like midlife crisis. There's no such thing as midlife crisis. That's just what we call it. But I think what's happening is people are forgetting who they are. They're forgetting the power that lives inside of them, especially if they're faith-filled believers. That's the context I'm using here. That were you having a midlife crisis? No, you just feel like you're falling behind, or that you should have been further along by now, or all these things. But the truth is, none of that is true. It's just a false belief because we've forgotten that we have the same power that rose Jesus from the grave that's living in us. And so we feel like we're falling behind. And so instead of remembering the power that lives inside of us and that it's a finished work and that we don't have to strive, instead we strive harder. Instead of slowing down and aligning with that truth, we believe a lie, that we got to keep going, right? And underneath it all is this belief, though, which is a lie, by the way. We're believing the lie that it all depends on me. It all depends on you. It all depends on us. We begin to think we have to do it in our own strength. I love what Dallas Willard said about this. And he said, grace is not opposed to effort, it is opposed to earning. What does that mean? What does that even mean? I'm going to give you my breakdown, but I think it's very simple, right? It's saying that grace is not meaning we sit around and do nothing because we have the gift of grace. No, it means that we do all our work as unto the Lord and we put forth effort. We take action, but we don't do it as if it depends on our ability to earn something that's already been given to us. And so that's the tension. Have you ever felt like you don't deserve something and so you need to put forth a certain effort in order to get it? But that would be silly if you already had it. So it's not about earning it, it's about just doing the work joyfully as unto the Lord. That changes everything. But that tension's real. And we're not called to do nothing, but we are called to stop trying to earn what's already been given. Think about someone carrying a backpack of bricks. And not to inundate you with all these, modern parables or analogies, but I think it helps us think about a very simple thing that's very powerful that we tend to forget way too easily. But if someone's carrying a backpack full of bricks, which would be horrible, by the way, right? It's heavy, it's exhausting, it's weighing them down. And then someone comes along and says, hey, you don't have to carry that anymore. But then instead of dropping it, right, they tighten the straps and think, nope, not doing it, not putting this down because I got something to prove. I need to earn my keep. I need to make sure I complete this. That's what striving does. See, it keeps us carrying what Jesus already finished. I can remember this true story when I was in the Marine Corps. We were training up in Virginia. It was our cold weather training. And I remember I was in a position to not necessarily have to carry this extra weight. And no one wanted to volunteer to take it. But basically, it was an additional radio equipment and pack on top of our already, 70 to 80 pound packs. And no one wanted it. And everyone was grumbling and complaining. And I remember in the moment, even though I outranked the guys that were complaining and could have just made them carry it, I chose to carry it. And I remember the whole time, once I did it, they began to feel guilty that I was carrying this extra weight. And so, of course, now everyone's volunteering to take the weight. And I remember the whole time, and there's probably a little bit of my pride and stubbornness, but I was trying to kind of make a point that it wasn't about the extra weight. It was about the willingness to put forth the effort. And so I took it and I would not let them carry it. The whole evolution, I carried that extra, 35 pounds or whatever it was. But I can tell you this, it wasn't convenient. It wasn't easy and it wasn't necessarily enjoyable or desirable. But it wasn't a big deal because I'd already believed it. Like it was already done in my mind. I'd already made it up that I was going to complete this work. It was like it was already done. I'm not equating myself to Jesus by any stretch, but what I'm saying is when I did have it, because I already determined in my mind it was finished, it wasn't a weight. If anything, it became kind of a joy to help show them that they don't have to earn this, or putting the pack on wasn't going to earn them the right to not feel guilty. And that wasn't the point. They shouldn't have felt guilty. I want them to realize I was willing to carry it. I was willing to do it for them so they didn't have to, and not hold it against them. And so as easy as I could have passed the pack on, I thought if I do that, it's going to teach them that they can then earn something that had already been taken care of for them. And we do that, though. We so often do this in our lives. We don't want to, you know, let go of something that we just aren't needing to carry. And then we feel guilty about it. That's how the lie of the enemy works. It tells us that it's not already done. Jesus didn't already complete it, and there's nothing we can do to earn it. And it's just living in the grace of God. Like, could you imagine that? But so how do we implement this in our lives? How do we help ourselves, right? Even though we know the truth, that because we're still human and we're still in this, you know, where there's a spiritual battle always ensuing in our lives, whether we can see it or fully understand it, it is there. Well, I think the best way we tackle it is we have to align with truth. And so the one principle I'm going to give us for this idea of not striving, not earning, and just living in the truth of knowing it is a completed work. The work of Jesus on the cross is a finished work, tetelestai. It is a, he paid it in full for us. So now we get to live freely. And I'm going to come back to that because it's key. I don't just get to live freely in the sense I can do whatever I want, but I get to live freely in a sense that I don't have to live under the weight of stuff we were never meant to carry: shame, condemnation, guilt, all of that. He paid for all of it and so much more. And so the principle is this: the one principle truth we can take home is you don't strive for change. You live from finished work in resurrection power. Okay, so the principle again is this: don't strive for change. No, instead, live from a place of it is a finished work and we have resurrection power. That same power lives in us. So you're not working towards victory per se, you're living from it. We don't have to earn it, it's already been paid in full. I cannot earn it, but I can live from a place of knowing I've already secured, well, through the power of Jesus on the cross and his resurrection, the victory's been secured for us. So again, don't live for change, live from finished work and resurrection power. And from there, you can begin to practice then, right? You take the principal truth and then practice. Well, how do we practice? I think one of the most incredible things we can practice amongst many, but this is just one of them, because when you feel pressure to fix, to prove, or control something, like the trifecta dagger right there. If you've ever felt pressure to fix, prove, or control something, I don't know about you, but I can relate to all three of those. And I would imagine many of you can too, is I'm going to begin to implement this one practice. Okay. Of course, I'm pausing, I'm getting still, but I'm practicing by asking this question: am I striving right now? Or am I trusting what's already finished? Am I trusting what's already been completed? So that's the practice. It's simply asking a question. Practice asking this question often as you need to, and you sense you should, which really for me is daily. Am I striving right now, or am I trusting what's already been finished? And that could relate to so many things. Okay, that question alone can shift so many things in your life: your tone, your response, your leadership in the home, and so much more. Okay, so we have the principle, the practice, and the movement, right? The thing we're going to begin to take action on. And it's a simple one this week is practice, or better yet, take action on releasing. Once you've identified by asking the question, which is the practice, take action on releasing the one thing. Maybe it's more than one, but one thing, and replace it with trust and or truth. Could be a situation. It could be something you feel a lot of pressure from, you're anxious about, you're worried, trying to control an outcome. See, all of those things, most of the time, right? Those are secondary effects, but they're rooted in something that's deeper, which is the lie that I need to take care of this. I need to worry about it. I need to, you know, be anxious, right? God tells us be anxious for nothing. And so instead, I'm going to release it and say, all right, God, I trust you. I'm surrendering it to you. And I'm going to actually believe the truth and not just take it for granted that what you did on the cross is a completed work, and the same power that rose Jesus from the grave back to life lives in me. And I'm going to stand on that truth. And then I'm going to take one step forward from a place of peace instead of pressure. That's the movement you're going to take this week. And remember, because as we land the plane here, because finished work doesn't need your striving. It needs and invites us, though, to trust. And I understand that's easier said than done because you don't have to carry what's already been completed. You don't have to earn what's already been given. And you certainly don't have to prove what's already been secured. Jesus did it on the cross. It is finished. Tetelestai. It was paid in full. And post Easter now, I think more than ever, we can't just go through the season, celebrate the moment, and not be willing to remember that truth every single day. We live in a Western culture where I believe it's so easy to celebrate the moment and then the next day we forget it, as if it almost didn't even happen. But the truth is, it did happen and he did complete it and it is finished. And he did it for you and he did it for me. And that's why I love God. That's why I love Jesus and I love the Holy Spirit because they loved me first. And he was willing to do that. God was willing to send his only son. And it's almost unfathomable. What's amazing is I don't have to try to understand it all. I just have to have faith and trust and believe that Jesus did it for me. And so because of that, back to what I was saying earlier, I wanted to make sure I captured was it's a gift. It is free, but it's not free so I can then just go do what I want. It's free in the sense that because we freely receive, we freely give. Because he's given me the grace, because he's given me the completed work, because he's given it to me as a gift. I don't earn it because he's given it to me. I now get to go and give it to others. That's why it's free. So I'm going to freely receive, I'm going to freely give it. Don't just take the gift and sit there and be like, well, I guess I can do whatever I want now. That's not why. That's not at all why or only he came, right? It's not because he didn't just rise from the dead so you could be saved. No, he rose so you could be transformed. And in our transformation, we bring transformation to those around us in your marriage, in your family, in your parenting, in your home, in your workplace, because we live from a place of knowing that the greater truth is this, that it is a completed work. It is finished. I do not have to strive or earn it. And it's been paid in full. And I get to now work and move with effort from a place of doing my work and doing the things he's called us to, from a place of peace and understanding that I am moving and working from a place of already having the victory because Jesus secured it on the cross, through the grave, and the resurrection. And it's a gift that I did not earn, but I freely receive it so I can then freely give it. You guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. As always, again, follow, subscribe, share this podcast with a friend who just needs that encouragement and reminder that it's done, it's completed, right? Implement the principle, the practice, and the movement so you can begin to reignite your marriage, realign the family, and restore the home. And if you would like, okay, little plug, I always forget this, but if you would like, listen, I send out every Monday the KFM 111 weekly reset. It is a free principle, practice, and movement you can implement throughout your week to help build just a strong foundation in the four walls of your home. You guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. Sam Velasquez with the Kingdom Family Movement Podcast, and we will see you on the other side. Peace.